right, welcome to the closing beat, everybody. Oh, sorry about that. Did you miss the Doe Show earlier? You missed out on a lot of geeky stuff. If you happen to have a few minutes to check that out on our channel, we do a live show every day. Well, we do a live show a couple times every day, but we did one at 1 o'clock today that we do every day called the Doe Show. We covered discretionary, consumer discretionary stocks, that sector on fire. Why is it on fire and what's going on? But if you're just watching us for the first time, my name is Dustin Tibbetts, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth Managers. I hope you'll check us out at jazzwealth.com, but more importantly, I hope you'll check us out tonight. We're coming back. That's right. We've been here 4 times on YouTube today. Rare day. But at 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight, we're going to do an open house. What's it mean to work with Jazz Wealth? Bring your questions. If there's things you want me to review for you or help you out with, questions that you've had, be glad to do that. I'll stay as long as we need to. But the first 10 minutes or so, just going to quickly review what it means to work with Jazz Wealth. Good or bad, just kind of share everything with you. So if you've been thinking about using us, of course, you'll know what to do. Well, anyways, let's go over to the markets headlines today. Let's see if this works. Hey, it worked again. I'm getting good at this. Headlines for today, you're going to see all over the financial media and probably all your local media as well. Apple, new phones. You got new iWatch and new phones coming out. We'll talk about that in a second, but they did have a little bit of a price reduction. I thought they would. They were very crafty how they did it, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Focus, I noticed, is starting to shift back towards the trade war. Today, the markets actually responded quickly in hopes or some comments that we were working with China again on those tariffs. And if you follow oil inventory numbers just rocked everybody. Every Wednesday has been so exciting for oil futures and the price of oil, gasoline, RBOB, things like that, whatever you follow. And today was no exception. We'll cover that as well. And of course, the open house. I hope you'll join us for the open house tonight. That's pretty much all that I have for that. We take a look at the markets. You can see on the screen over here that the Dow closed higher on the day by 27. Here's what happened. And I highlighted on this chart, this is really kind of interesting here down at the bottom. You've got the markets that opened up, shot lower, went all the way back positive again, came back negative again, went just a touch positive again, went negative, and closed the day positive. That's the S&P 500. So remember, in the month of September, volatility picks up by 25%. And I really wanted to illustrate that as it happens, because it's so cool. If I can tell you something is going to happen and then it happens, I look like a hero, but in reality, it's just statistics. So you can see that that is starting to happen. Every day I'm sharing that chart with you so that you can see the slow increase in the whippiness of the markets. Although today was in a sort of a small range, we did get to see more of that. So at the end of the day, the Dow ultimately closed the day higher by 27 points. Tiny win for the Dow. S&P closed up 1. We'll basically call it flat. You can kind of see it closed where it closed yesterday. And the Nasdaq closed lower by 18. Tech space, semiconductors, all weakness on the day. And so that continues to kind of weigh on the overall market. So let's go over to the individual sectors. We'll take a look here. We'll just start. Well, let me go to the markets real quick. I did mention the Dow up just a touch there. It continues to be in a range that we need more information. It's just hard to make any major decisions there if you're a Dow investor. As far as the Nasdaq, it is just desperately trying to hang on to this support. Depending on how you look at charts, you may have already indicated to yourself that it has broken support. So tech stocks not looking good there, continuing to do some weakness, show some weakness. And then the S&P 500, a nice steady uptrend. I mean, if you're looking back over the course of the year, we had a lot of volatility in the first 2 months-ish, 3 months, and then all of a sudden it just calmed down into this slow, easy uptrend. So you really don't mind if there's a little volatility here in September. It could even get kind of wild like it did back in March and April. And you really wouldn't mind because unless you're starting for the first time ever to invest on this day, you have a little bit of gains. You have some wiggle room to work with. So no problem there. We mentioned the semiconductors because something very important happened to the semiconductors today. It closed below the 200-day moving average again. Now, we did a class for our customers where we talked about what does that mean, closing above or below the 200-day moving average. And if you were in that class, then you know today is not as big of a deal as if it had just closed below this red line for the first time in a long time. You can see that the semiconductor space as a whole is sort of disrespectful of the 200-day moving average and using it more as a range, right? And so it's not a particular number. I'm not too concerned about it. Now, if we look through the semiconductor space, what happened today, you got Micron Technologies. This is now officially correction territory. We mentioned this yesterday. I believe it's 50% to the downside now. If we go from, let's go from what happened from today all the way to the other day. I'm sorry, back to the high over here, 35% on the downside. So obviously that's not great. Micron Technologies breaking to new lows again today, getting a little too far extended to the downside. Now, pay close attention to that because we've talked about this before very closely. We talked about the semiconductors pulling back like a bow and arrow, right? And when you have the sector as a whole pulling back, you expect to see at least a little bit of a, if you let go of a bow and it shoots forward, you get a momentary push higher. We totally walked you through this V sort of shape right here. Every single day, if you look at those videos, we walked you through the exact same process. Could that happen again? I kind of think so, and here's why. Although Goldman Sachs downgraded Micron today, and for decent reason, they don't know for sure. So the stock fell aggressively. You're going to have bottom pickers come in there, and so you may end up having a little bit of a buying, people trying to buy the bottom. That's all I'm trying to say. NXP Semiconductors also fell into the same category there. Goldman Sachs basically said, look, these guys that make these chips, they've had a good run. The memory, especially in the DDR RAM memory space, those chips going for a discount, and because they're going for a discount, less profits, you get what I'm trying to say there. And so a lot of these names started falling lower. However, the way they've fallen for multiple days and extending themselves, right? Go back and look at our candlesticks video if you're a customer of ours, the most recent one in particular. Now that they're a bit extended, imagine all these bows being pulled back. At some point very soon, you let go of that rope and the string, and it will shoot higher. Now, this is a different story because the semiconductors as a whole have pulled back, but look at all the stocks inside of it. Those stocks have pulled back as well. So it's kind of interesting to see now if the stocks in the sector start moving higher, wouldn't that naturally pull the sector higher? So pretty cool there. That could be at least a little something to help boost the markets, because we know that for the markets to go higher, you need the semiconductors to go higher, at least mostly. You need the semiconductors to go with it, which means you need the stocks inside of that sector to go higher as well. It's called top-down analysis, really. You start with the index, you move on to the sectors, you move on to the stocks inside of the individual sectors. And so that was just a quick, probably horrible overview to explain to you how that will work and likely what could happen with the stock market here going forward over the next couple days. Goldman Sachs did cut their price target on Micron, which of course doesn't help with the memory chip idea. We already covered that, so no need to stay with that. I'm trying to get better at following my list because I leave stuff off my list every day, and I hate that. So we got oil. Oil up another 1.5% today. Energy stocks were mainly the big focus. There was a discrepancy of 5.3 million barrels of oil. So basically how this works, every week we get an inventory report from, I believe it comes out of Oklahoma. And so basically we go, well, we expect that there will be X number of barrels of oil available or X number of barrels drawn from the supply of oil. And we basically try to anticipate that. Well, then we get the report that tells us the official number, rounded of course. And so everybody was expecting, what was it today? 1.3 million barrels in reduction. So we all thought we've got all this oil. Maybe by the end of the week, we would have reduced it by 1.3 million barrels. Instead, we got the report that said we reduced it by 5.3 million barrels. Whoa. So a big miss there. And over the last 7 weeks, we've been seeing that from this report. So every Wednesday's been exciting for oil. If you've seen us talk about that, then of course you know what we're talking about. But you have crude oil up by 1.5% today. And then as you look through the S&P 500, a lot of your energy names are going to be leading the way. So names that we don't often talk about, you got Cimarex Energy. I don't think I've ever mentioned that one. Of course, that one had a decent day. We could just go through. There's a whole bunch of them as you just kind of work your way through it. Concho Resources, another great day. The easy way to do it is to just look at the sector as a whole. You got XLE, that's an energy sector. XOP is an oil and gas exploration ETF. USO is sort of a sort of a direct participation with USO, with the price of oil, so you get a feel for how things were going there. Remember, the idea behind these Iranian sanctions, I don't know if you geek out about this stuff or not, but this is going to come up more and more. Iranian sanctions, U.S. put Iranian sanctions against Iran, and the goal was we were going to put the sanctions on them, and the other countries were going to produce their own oil to make up the difference, or the countries that do produce oil. The thought was if that happened, then the price of oil would stay lower. However, the other countries were like, damn, we can't buy our oil from Iran anymore, or what they do normally buy from Iran, and we don't want to make our own oil or produce more because it's not cost effective at these prices. And so they said, we're not going to produce oil, therefore prices are going up to a level where they can produce oil. So you're going to have a huge tug of war in the oil space. I don't know if you follow that stuff, but I could probably do a whole 10 minutes on that. Very interesting. Okay, Apple came out with their new phones today. Let's go through this real quick. I'm not going to go through all the differences here, but they got an iWatch coming out. It's going to have a larger screen, a heart monitor, a better fitness tracker. The other phones that came out, the iPhone XS and the XS Max, which is going to be $1,099, people. It'll have the largest screen of every model, any model ever. 6.5 inches is the size. Now, they knew they had to come out with a lower priced phone. I mentioned this yesterday. I'll bet you they come out with a lower priced phone. They came out with the XR, which is priced at $749. It's got a lot less features than even the iPhone 8. So they're trying to trick you a little bit there and say, well, look, if you don't need all the bells and whistles, you can pay an overpriced price for this phone if you want, but it's not going to have the dual camera. It's not going to have the fancy screen that it has on the other one. And they'll let you pick colors. They said, oh, but it'll still come in colors. So if you want to get a pink one, you can get a pink one, but it's still going to cost you $749. That's incredible. So Apple historically is a sell on the news kind of a stock. When they do these events, usually you see the stock lower. You see it higher going into the event. Everybody sells on the news. Doesn't mean anything's wrong with the announcement or anything. Just go back and look at the stats. It's over 80% of the time when they have their new launch event, stock goes lower. And if I'm right, it was 82% of the time. But I haven't looked at that since the last one, so I can't speak for certain. It's a ridiculous number, but I better be careful about the number that I give you. Okay, Wells Fargo, they were back in the news the other day. They keep screwing people, man. Wells Fargo just keeps screwing people, whether it's your retirement investments, whether it's your bank account, whether it's your auto insurance. They gave you crap insurance that you didn't need and made you buy it. And so now today the company said, we want to reimburse those people. And the SEC basically said, no, you cannot reimburse those people because we're not sure that you're going to identify each person that was affected by your scam and make them whole again. And so the SEC said, we want to see you do more. We want you to give us a better plan other than we're going to reimburse these people. And so basically they got crushed. 2.5% to the downside, closing below the 200-day moving average. Verizon broke out to new highs today. 5G is coming next month, actually, in a handful of cities. Not one of them was mine, so I didn't pay much attention to it. AT&T also was doing 5G. They were the first to announce it, by the way. But Verizon up 0.5% on that news. Also, if you care, Tim Armstrong, the CEO of their Oath division, that's their marketing division, he's decided to step down. I didn't see why. I just thought that was interesting. Snapchat, or Snap Inc., sorry, brand new lows today, down 7% on the day. It was downgraded, and the guy that downgraded the stock said $5. $5 is his price target. I can't even do it with this hand, but this is the next price target that you're going to see. This is the current price target, 5. The next price target is going to be 4 because the company is adjusting. They're retooling. They're refiguring things out. I'm not saying they won't make it. I think it's kind of an interesting discounted stock here, but it is probably way too early to participate. Anyway, stock down 10%. Pot stock, got a lot of questions on this one today. What do you want me to say? I mean, it moved higher 10%. This is momentum. So there are people that trade momentum, and a lot of those people that trade momentum are overlooking at AMD right now. Is this a good investment at this price? I maintain absolutely not. You will get a discount, and then you can buy it at that discounted price. Don't chase these stocks. I'm just not one that does that. But anyways, Tilray was higher by 10%, and AMD added another 7. Very impressive move there for AMD. Goldman Sachs, let's see, did it finish? So Goldman Sachs did finish lower on the day. That marks 11 days that Goldman Sachs has been lower. And I see here 11 days consecutively lower. That has not happened since Goldman Sachs IPO'd, meaning when they first went public, way back. So is that a sign? Look at the banking sector just drifting lower. Goldman Sachs down 11 days in a row. I've never seen that, of course, because I don't think I was even alive when they went public. Discovery Communications in the S&P, that's your leader. They're doing a deal with Hulu. So the idea is that they may even be interested in a takeover. So Discovery up about 7% today. Now that they're going to work with Hulu. And I'll wrap up by saying there's a company called NEO. Every Monday I do an IPO thing. Actually, it's in Polish, so you wouldn't probably be able to read it. But I do an IPO article that gets sent over to Poland. And NEO, is a Chinese IPO that just went public today. You're going to see that in the news. They make cars. The stock was barely higher today. If you follow IPOs, then this IPO was not impressive, okay? So there are IPOs that come out and everything is great. They raise a ton of money. It's strong. There's over demand for the stock. This was not the case. People were not interested in this one. They make electric vehicles in China, just like Tesla does. They wanted to raise $1 billion. They did raise the $1 billion. Here's the thing. They only have $46 million in sales. They have not even made 2,000 electric cars yet. You give Elon Musk a hard time for not building cars. They haven't even built 2,000 cars yet. They don't even have their own manufacturing facility where they build the cars. They use another company and say, hey, will you build us these cars and we'll slap our name on it and it'll be fine, right? The American way. And so that's what they're doing. They don't even have their own factory. So $46 million in sales. They came to market with an $8 billion valuation. You do $46 million in sales, you have an $8 billion valuation. That's not going to fly. Investors, American investors, weren't interested in that offering today. So we'll see where it goes. I expect that they'll be in the news a lot more going forward because it is an Elon Musk play that people want to focus on there for sure. Okay, hey, that's all I have for you. If you have time tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time, I'll be back. Same place, same bat channel, all that stuff. We'll be doing the open house. We're going to go over what it's like to work with Jazz. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now. And then I'm going to head out of here. Can you discuss portfolio rebalance strategy in a video or something? Could we? We have done a handful of those using stats from last year's performance and this year's performance in the stock market. Detailed videos, though, I don't think I've done any of those. I know we did some recently on basic rebalancing, what that means and how it works. Nothing specific. Apple has yet another hit on its hand. You think so? I think they'll do all right with that 749. The problem is the less features. So I don't know if the diehards are going to want to upgrade even though at a lower price for less features. I think it's a good way to put a thing out there going, look, we're here if you want to spend less, but ooh, look at all this over here. So I'm kind of interested to see how these sales go. We'll know more closer to Christmas. Portfolio rebalancing as it relates to dollar cost averaging, two separate things, by the way. I'm not sure how I would relate those two in a video off the top of my head, but some ideas are coming to me. Something to think about. Buy Apple low and sell in the first quarter next year high. Well, that's a prediction. Let's check it out. I love it. Way to put it out there. I love people that'll put it out there and take a shot. Speaking of taking a shot, I'm going to fix all this up, have a drink. No, I'm just kidding. And then we'll be back at 8 o'clock, of course, for the open house. Hope you can join us. If not, it'll be recorded. I know a lot of people have been emailing saying, I can't make it, but I'll watch it. It's recorded. It's okay. You don't have to email me. You could just watch it being recorded. I appreciate it. And if you're not sure what it is, here you go.
Hey, wait! Before you go watch one of our other great videos, have you had a chance to see our new Fin Tips videos? They focus on one topic at a time, covering investing, personal finance, and anything that can quickly help you with your dough. Best of all, we'll keep it real short, because we know time is money.